Hi, my name's Robert Bevan. Welcome to another Best Practice audio presentation. Profitable Property Management. The latest best practice research of Australia and New Zealand's leading property management teams will provide you with the systems and strategies to become the number one property management business in your local area. To obtain the best results from this audio presentation, as a Best Practice member, visit bestpractice.com.au, click on Resource Library or Products Inventory and download the 22-page manual which accompanies this presentation. Before we start, I'd like to sincerely thank the fabulous team at Rockend Technology who assisted so much in the production of this particular training session. The results of the research we completed with top property management teams led us to produce the document which focuses on 10 key areas. It's not my intention to read through the 22-page manual line by line. Rather, I'm going to go to each of those 10 areas and highlight the most important things which need to be drawn to your attention. The first area is financial management. Sound financial management, always critical, always something that every best business focuses upon. With financial management, first of all, we look at benchmarking. As a best practice member, you're able to download the interfirm comparison, which enables you to look at your business and compare it with other typical or similar businesses throughout New Zealand and Australia. On page number 4, you will see a key performance indicator schedule. Let me just draw one specific line to your attention. Line number 5, operating surplus. You'll see there that the average surplus, or for want of a better term, profitability of the average residential property management department throughout Australia and New Zealand is 29.17%. That means that the average real estate agency rent roll provides the shareholders, the owners of that business, with a 30% profit, almost a 30% profit. That is, they retain 30 cents of every dollar revenue they collect. Now, according to anybody's way of measuring business success, 30 cents in the dollar is very, very sound. It's not true right across the board, of course. When you look back on page number 4, point number 5 in the KPI schedule, the bottom 10%, a fairly lean 8% operating surplus. But wow, go right over to the right-hand side of that schedule, the top 10%, operating surplus 49.77%, or almost 50 cents in the dollar. It's no doubt that most banks, lending authorities, say without any equivocation that a typical real estate agency's rent roll represents the business's consistent and bankable cash flow and capital value. Being involved in residential property management is a very, very good place to be, provided you follow some of the things we're going to talk about during this presentation. On page number 5, monthly monitoring, some of the things that the top 10% businesses are doing here. First of all, they split their profit centres. They do not operate according to consolidated charts of accounts, so that they know that their property management department is operating well, and so is the sales department, and so is the valuation department, and so is the commercial and industrial, and whatever other profit centres that they have. One thing I'd like to mention to you, and it's spelt out on pages 5 and 6 of the workbook, where we show you how to split your profit centres. But the most important thing is, if you're doing this for the first time, accountants and bookkeepers sometimes want to know how are you going to split the shared expenses, things like premises. Well, the overwhelming majority of accountants do it according to revenue. So if you have a business where 70% of your revenue is sales and 30% is property management, split the shared expenses like premises along that 70-30 ratio, and then you'll be able to provide the figures for your separate profit centres. On page number 7, annual goals and budget. Samples A and B provide you with the templates to enable you to sit down with your accountant and do just that. In a residential real estate agency, typically Australia, New Zealand, The rent roll provides 20 to 30% of the revenue and 80 to 90% of its value. Sample B, halfway down page number 7, provides you with a number of areas that you might like to consider having as the goals for your business for the next 12-month period. Lines number 8 and 9 I'd like to draw to your attention. 8 is always the question most often asked of me whenever I address a group of property managers. How many tenancies, how many properties can a property manager manage? Well, that's not the best question to ask. The best question to ask is how many tenancies per total property management personnel? Because if it's just property manager, it depends on what sort of assistance and support that property manager receives. If the property manager has to take over the reception area at lunchtime, do all of the statements, provide all of the communication between tradesmen, landlords and tenants, they're not going to be able to manage as many as somebody who has a separate accounts department, a separate area for looking after arrears, a separate area for looking after repairs and maintenance, etc. Yes, I can tell you, and it was on the KPI schedule we looked at before, the average number of tenancies per property manager is 140, but the average number of tenancies per total personnel, and this is the critical KPI, is 70, about half the number of properties per property manager. Monthly reports, there are 6 of these that are produced in the top 10% business, that business which is the leading agency in property management in its local area. They're listed for you on pages 7 and 8. And one thing I would draw to your attention here, if you are part of the Rock End client base, if you use REST, have a look at the management reports that are available to you with that software application, because through REST they produce these reports for you automatically. But the reports that are set out there on leasing, repairs and maintenance, inspections, arrears, vacancies and rent reviews, critical to being that top 10% property management business. That's the first section, sound financial